Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and this is part 2 of my review of the Meebook M8. After using it as my dedicated e-reader for 45 days, I'm going to break down what I liked, what I didn't like, who I think this device is for, and then give you my personal conclusion. What I liked. The first standout feature for me was the screen size. At 7.8 inches, it hits the sweet spot. I enjoy 6-inch e-readers, but more as a take-anywhere device, something small and portable that I carry around every day. But when I'm at home or relaxing in a hotel room on vacation, I want a bigger screen to read on. For that, 7.8 inches is perfect. It's the size I'd keep next to the couch or throw in my luggage for a trip. I really also like the build quality. It feels solid and not cheap at all. I tend to prefer slab-style e-readers without physical buttons, but this design fits that preference nicely. The build is clean, sturdy, and honestly better than I expected. I went in thinking it might feel flimsy, but it doesn't. Another feature I appreciated was the Wi-Fi transfer option. It's refreshing to see a device that lets you add your books without installing an extra app or joining another ecosystem. You just open the link on your computer or tablet, upload your file, and it appears on the device. Simple and convenient. I love that. And unfortunately, that's it for the clear positives. Now for the middle of the road stuff. Let's talk about the things that aren't bad, but aren't great either, just lukewarm. First, the screen quality. When I first unboxed it, I was disappointed. The clarity and brightness felt a bit dull compared to more modern e-readers, but over time I got used to it. It's definitely a step behind newer screens, but once you turn on the front light, it's more than usable. Not bad, not great, just fine. Next is note-taking. If you need a powerful note-taking device with a Wacom stylus and high accuracy, this is not that device. But if you only jot down occasional notes, to-dos, or simple lists, it's totally adequate. In fact, the slightly larger screen makes it a bit better than the Go 7 line for light writing. Solidly average. The front light also falls into the good but not great category. It gets bright, very bright, but it's a bit uneven. Personally, I never took it above 30%, and that was more than enough for my reading. Most people will probably sit around 50%. Anything above 75% starts to look uneven. Again, usable, but not impressive. Just so you can see for yourself, I've filmed the cool light at 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. I filmed the warm light at 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. And then I filmed both lights, the warm and the cool combined, at 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. Now what I didn't like. Support and documentation or lack of it. There is no proper manual for the M8. When I contacted the manufacturer, they admitted they didn't have one yet and sent me the manual for the older P78 model, which uses a completely different interface. It helped a little, but not much. And this device has been out for about 6 or 7 months, so not having a manual for it is kind of a shame. I'm sure they have a manual in Chinese, but I don't speak Chinese, and I bought it on Amazon in the American market. There's also no meaningful ecosystem around this device. No helpful website, no central place to get resources, and no real support, at least in English. You're basically on your own. Next, the price. The device feels 2 to 3 years old in terms of specs and performance, and its current price around $250 without a stylus, it just doesn't make sense. If it were $200, I could see the argument for a budget option for someone who wants Android but can't afford the Go 7 line. But at the same price as the Go 7 wins in every category except screen size. Battery life was also a real disappointment. Compared to my Go 7, which lasted around 27 hours, the M8 lasted about 15 hours, and even when powered off, it still drained a percentage or two, which can really build up over a couple weeks. The Go 7 didn't drain nearly as much. Also, there were some weird interface quirks that added a little bit more frustration. So, for example, font installation was bizarre. After downloading the English font pack, the fonts wouldn't appear. The info button that you press in the font screen told me to move them into the fonts folder, but when I went to the file manager, they were already in the fonts folder, but just inside another folder in the fonts folder. I eventually fixed it by manually moving one font out of the nested folder. It worked, but it was confusing, unnecessary, and poorly implemented. I have no idea why they make you download fonts. All the fonts for the different languages that they're going to service just should already be installed. That's the way it is on Pocketbook. Pocketbook is the gold standard for font management. All the fonts for all the countries they service are already installed, ready to go. And you can also change font size by 12 point, 11 point, 13 point. You can take it a little bit bigger or smaller each time, which is just wonderful. So now we have to ask ourselves, who is this device for? Honestly, that's a tough one. I'd have to say the M8 is for somebody who absolutely needs a screen larger than 7 inches, but specifically wants an e-ink Android device and not an LCD tablet, and they can't afford anything better than the Meebook M8, and they don't mind figuring things out on their own because of the lack of documentation. That's pretty much all I can go for as far as reasons why somebody would want one or for who it's for. For almost everyone else, I'd recommend the Go 7 line instead. It has better support, better documentation, a better screen, a better battery life, a better ecosystem. It's just better all around, and it's the same price as the Meebook M8. If the Meebook M8 drops in price drastically, then maybe I could see it as a recommendation for somebody who's cash strapped. But if you can come up with a little bit of extra money, and that 7.8 inch screen isn't a must for you, and you can live with 7 inches on your screen, I would say get the Go 7. So I'm definitely going to be returning it, and I hope that part 1 and part 2 of these reviews helped you make a decision as to whether this device is one that works for you. This is Ofori, the digital reader, and keep reading.